thanks everyone. Great to see this crowd like this. Great to also see there's about half and half, maybe a little more folks who have never been here before. So part of what I'm going to do here is set the stage of what are we trying to do here, because it's a different kind of gathering. It's a different, very different kind of gathering here. And one of the things that's been kind of, you've been signing up for this logo, which by the way is kind of some art by kind of on a magazine piece I did about a year and a half ago, but it so sums up kind of what we're about here. There's so much gloom and doom about everything in the world and climate change, but also there's so much backlash and fear and everything about technology. And yet at the same time, if you look at these technologies and you look what's really possible here, the great era of progress potentially could open up here, particularly around these new kind of world historic kind of technologies. So what we're trying to do is pull the narrative in a different direction and gather a group of relatively tech optimists. Don't have to be totally optimistic, but and so we're doing this. The AI Age begins. We've been consistently doing this since last year. There's some of you who have been coming from last year, and but we've been doing it for last year. We did a season last year. We did a season this year. This is our third event in this series here, which we launched a few months ago. So this is ground zero here at the Shack. And I want to talk a little bit about what we're taking for granted here. We're not going to argue about this right now. We are taking for granted as a premise that generative AI is kind of a world historic moment. It essentially was marked the beginning of it opening up AI to everyone. It's like the big bang of what happened in the 90s with the opening of the web, of which I was there in the early days of Wired magazine, where we just kind of opened up the internet to everybody and we watched that take off. This is even a bigger deal, but it's a similar kind of moment of kind of recognition. Second thing is that we are essentially entering nothing short of a new age of AI. Humans are crossing a threshold, just like the Iron Age opened up, and all these various ages. And when we got the capability of this new technology, there's no turning back. It's going to continue on for centuries, if not forever. We're going to iterate this and iterate this and iterate this. And so we are privileged to be around in the early days of this crazy beginning of this age, where we have to actually really start to fundamentally rethink all kinds of things. The third thing is that this is a technological step change, that we essentially have a capability here with AI that is allowing humans to do things we've never been able to do before. And so we have to kind of recalculate what is possible with this new general purpose technology, this extension of our kind of intelligence now in all directions. And we have to really think through all the implications of that, which are quite profound. And so we're going to basically do this. Now, it happens to be, we're holding it here in San Francisco. Here's old, see the Golden Gate Bridge there with ground zero in San Francisco. Just when everyone was kind of saying, oh, San Francisco's over and everyone's kind of leaving and oh my God, the crypto guys moved to Miami and the whole thing, we said, you know, you're missing the whole story. It's the new, there is a total explosion and a regeneration of San Francisco. But the reason, even tonight there are 10 competing events right now around AI. Now, this event, though, I would say, it stands out because instead of a kind of a bunch of entrepreneurs kind of showcasing their demos or investors check it out, this or that, or kind of different subgroups dealing with all this stuff, this is one of the few events where we're trying to really bring together a broader, more big picture, strategic conversation. And we're also trying to mix across all these different networks of people to actually start flushing out the answers, basically, to some of these more profound questions that we're starting to have to confront now in this new age. We think of this as we're trying, there's no better place on the planet right now than here in San Francisco with all our understanding, and when I say San Francisco, the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, basically to kind of really rethink. We understand the technology very profoundly. We understand we have all these centers of innovation. And so if some group is going to start to engage, what are the new ways forward? What do we really need to do around this? Why not be here? Now, other places can do it as well, but we figured let's hold this conversation. And so we started this series to regularly gather every couple months around a new big question and cross-fertilize it with all kinds of different networks, including all you folks here. Now, the final thing I just want to say here, which brings us up to tonight, is there's really not just AI. If you think of our era right now, we are watching 3 world historic technologies roll out simultaneously in a way that have profound implications for all of us. Now, one is AI. We just talked about that. We don't have to convince a lot of you here. But the other one is essentially we're moving into an era of clean technologies. We're watching a transition off of carbon at a furious pace for the next 25 years to try to deal with climate. And so that our last event was all about how could AI accelerate our transition to clean energies and climate tech. And that was hugely successful. A similar group like you, we brought together all the people who understood climate and energy and all that together with entrepreneurs to think about how does it affect this. But the third world historic technology that is happening on our watch here is bioengineering. We've cracked the genetic code. We understand CRISPR, how to manipulate it. We're increasingly understanding biology and all the complexity of biology with protein folding, everything else. We now have an opportunity to not take all three of these totally transformative technologies, and particularly the bioengineering, to deal with sustainability and kind of re-engineering our kind of environment in ways to actually deal with climate change, to take on these huge challenges. And AI plays a critical role in both these other ones because it has the power to accelerate progress in the other two of them. And so even though we talk about this as the AI age begins, we really use the first two meetings to look at the other world historical technologies that are rolling out and also taking place here in the Bay Area, as well as other places in the world, but there's a ton of it here. And so that's why we're focusing today, not just on bioengineering and healthcare. A lot of people are going to be talking about synthetic biology. About half and half, we got speakers here talking about what are the opportunities here? What could AI do? Where is the opportunity spaces? What are the things that actually might not be possible that we might not even thought about even 2 years ago? And that's what we brought together today. Now, the final thing I want to say about this is no one person understands these questions, can answer that question. I mean, literally, we can have Sam Altman here, and he didn't know anything about bioengineering, maybe. It's like, it's like not one person gets all these things. So we have this method, we call it the meeting of the minds, because everybody has a piece of the puzzle. And so what we did is we sent out this email, invite-only email. There's a few others that were kind of, that we basically brought, we had 400 people, literally, RSVP for this. But as it's sorting out here, we have about probably 250, 300 folks here. All of you in here have some piece of that puzzle. But also, we particularly selected 12 of you to actually have 5 minutes to give their hit on that question and to really kind of give us some insight. And then sets it up as Joe was saying, we roll into a situation after 2 hours so we can reconfigure it for the next 2 hours, the final 2 hours, and reconfigure and talk and have all these conversations in all kinds of directions. So that's the kind of idea. Now, you are here. This is the Bay Area. But here's the thing I want to say. To pull this off, Joe and I's company here, Reinvent Futures, is one piece of this, but we could not have done this without two core partners. One is Shack 15, this incredible place here. They give us this, they literally cleaned out the whole place for us to come here. So we got to give it up to Shack for kind of giving us the ability to come here consistently and gather this community. But also BCGX has also been our core partner here. Not only are they helping with resources, but their network of basically bringing people. Because if we're going to really move the needle here, if we're going to change the world, we have to deal with the entire global economy. You got to deal, and BCG is like one of the premier kind of consulting groups, strategic consulting groups that really have their fingers in all kinds of global companies all over the world, all kinds of governments. And so what we say here, this is the last thing here, is we think of this as three core networks that we're bringing together here. Shack 15 is literally, for those that don't understand it, Shack 15 is one of the key hubs of what they call the Cerebral Valley. This is essentially a group of about 2,000 founders and builders, many of them in AI. We're going to hear from one of them here tonight, of that community. But it's a kind of a hub of the young, up-and-coming, next-generation Gen X AI builders. I would say, Reinvent Futures brings the kind of, I call it the tech and innovation intelligentsia. I was here from the early Wire, and all these last 30 years, collecting all the hubs of Berkeley and Stanford and all the different innovation hubs. We bring people that have been spending a lot of time thinking about the implication of this. But also BCGX is bringing together the tech and companies that, if we're going to pull this thing off, is actually going to make a big difference, and we can, to kind of scale this and really make the impact that we have to do in the time frame we're talking about, particularly around climate change. That's BCG and Shack, core partners here. But we also have our sponsors here. And again, the sponsors are here not just to bring the kind of resources to pull this off, but their networks together. We got Google, we got Ryder, which is a Gen AI company, which actually we're going to hear someone from there coming up here. We got Radium, it's kind of with almost supercomputing up in the cloud. We've got Adobe, which has been doing its own Firefly and different ways to kind of accelerate creativity. We got B Capital, has a lot of investments in these Gen AI companies. Anyone in those companies, could you just stand up just because I just want people to, in the mingling later, to understand, like, where are these folks to actually talk to some of these characters? All right, so then we got some folks there. Now, I also want to say, out of the 400 people who RSVP'd, I got it down to about 100, and then I thought it down, knocked it down, just to kind of give you a flavor of who is in this room. Very high quality characters. So for example, there is here, and again, I'm going to kick off every one of these here. I don't know if some people are still migrating in and who might not have showed up yet. But if anyone's here who sees their name there, just stand up a second here, because I want to kind of give an example of the kind of folks here. We got a lot of Gen AI players here, who are basically, we've got next generation leaders. I know Nick's here, stand up Nick. Where is Nick from Blog Now here? We got kind of tech giant reps, Meta, Splunk. Actually, I saw Chris come up with Splunk, Salesforce, Netflix. We also got investors here from different groups. So that's a category. And again, these are just kind of scraping the surface of who's in this room that you can chat with later. We also, interesting enough, I'll give you this one, we got all these foreign governments here. In fact, Alberto Acito, the director of Innovate, where is Alberto? There's Alberto. He brought all these kind of entrepreneurs from Italy, all these entrepreneurs from Italy. In fact, I think this is the Italian section here. There's a bunch of characters here. But we got the UK Science Innovation Network. We got Portuguese trade person here. We got basically the British consultant tech policy. We got foreign crews here. We got some wise veterans. Where's Barry? Barry, stand up. Stand up if anyone's on this list here. He's an OG that, honestly, corner this guy after here. A lot of these people could be speaking. We just...
Old.
No, not old. OGs, honored. The honored original crew. Anyhow, a lot of characters here. We got powerhouses from Genentech, Amgen, the whole crew. We've got kind of up and coming, or actually pioneering AI companies there. I don't know if Daniel's here. Is Daniel here? Oh, anyhow. And I just want to do the last one. I'm just trying to give you a sense of media we've got here. We've got from different, the LA Times. We got, actually, is Jonathan Doughton here, the guy who's basically behind, he's in the far back there. The guy from Silicon Valley was one of the producers and writers of the HBO series Silicon Valley. U.S. government, we got folks here from the defense unit. Are they here? I know we got DARPA here. Everyone's shy. They're not standing up here. Also, think tank labs. Brian Bellendorf, you're here from Linux. We've got IDEO, Buck Institute, a bunch of things here, folks. And the academic world, is Chris Hernandez here? He's another OG. Oh, there you are. Chris is easily be speaking here. We just couldn't get everyone slipped in here. So anyhow, the point is, in this mingling afterwards, go nuts and basically connect with all these folks. But what we want to do here is get to these 5-minute little pops to stretch our thinking before we get into that mosh pit of talking with everybody else.